Hello and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Blessing Brimo. My colleague and I, Yusuf, will be talking you through an overview of the entry process for the Times Top 50 Employers for Women and Business in the Community's Gender Equality Awards. I will now let Yusuf to say hello.
Good morning everyone and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Yusuf Hassain and as Blessing mentioned, we'll talk you through today's presentation, which will last approximately 45 minutes. And we'll respond to any questions that you may have at the end of the presentation.
So, before we begin, we need to get some housekeeping out of the way. Please ensure your mobile phones are on mute as we are recording the webinar. If you have a webcam, please also ensure that this is switched off. If you experience any technical difficulties during the webinar, please email Amelia, and Amelia's email address is right there on the slide. If you'd like to ask any questions, please do submit these via the questions tab, and we will have a Q&A for the final 15 minutes. The other thing that we'll also do is circulate the slides after, so you can have access to the links.
Thank you, Blessing. Okay, so the Times Top 50 Employers for Women is compiled by and produced in partnership with BITC's Gender Equality campaign. The Gender Equality is one of BITC's 4 workplace campaigns. The workplace campaigns at Business in the Community are committed to ensuring that age, gender, race and well-being do not limit an employee's engagement and success in the workplace. So we work with our membership of more than 362 employers across the private, public and not-for-profit sector, giving them access to and we have influence over the leaders of the UK's best-known organisations. So we aim to provide cutting-edge tools and research to support employees to make progress on these important areas. We campaign on the issues that will make the most beneficial difference to employees, to society, and hopefully to the economy as a whole, working closely with government bodies to share our expertise in order to influence positive societal change. The current aims of the gender campaign are to promote transparency, so looking to create fair, equal and unbiased recruitment, promotion and reward systems, transforming workplace cultures, so we're aiming to create safe, inclusive and agile work environments in which all talents can thrive, both men and women, and finally to eliminate occupational segregation, to ensure that choice, type and status of work are influenced by capability and not gender. If you're interested in joining the movement and taking advantage of a range of membership benefits, our Business Development Manager, Don Cowper, will be happy to speak to you.
Thank you, Yusuf. So one of the key ways that we campaign and work with organizations is by recognizing and celebrating progress and achievement. So with the Top 50 and our Gender Equality Awards, we recognize those organizations that demonstrate overall high performance with regards to gender equality, and we spotlight particular case studies, so examples of best practice that other organizations can then potentially learn from. BITC have got a wealth of experience in this, with the awards now in its 23rd year and having produced top 50 lists since 2011. So the good news is that we've streamlined the process into one single entry form. Therefore, one entry will be submitted into both BITC's Gender Equality Awards and the Top Times 50 Employers for Women. So the Times Top 50 Employers for Women will be published during the Responsible Business Week, and that's in April of 2018. This will include the winners of the Game Changer Award, the winners and finalists of the Gender Champion Award, and then the finalists for the Gender Equality Award. And then as for the BITC Gender Equality Award winner, this will be announced at the Business in the Community's very prestigious Responsible Business Gala Dinner, and that will take place in July of 2018.
Thank you, Blessing. Okay, so what is the Times Top 50 Employers for Women? So the Times Top 50 Employers for Women is the UK's most comprehensive and prestigious listing of employers that are leading the way on workplace gender equality and making it part of their business strategy at all levels. Entrants also have the opportunity, through one application process, to enter Business in the Community's Gender Equality Awards. The awards are the UK's most respected awards for gender equality in the workplace and celebrate outstanding progress and examples of best practice, impact, innovation and individual achievement. Both programs from Business in the Community recognise the progress employers are making to create inclusive workplace cultures that progress women in the workplace and enable them to reach their full potential. The Times Top 50 Employers for Women is published in Responsible Business Week in 2018, as Bessie mentioned, and the overall Gender Equality Award winner will be announced at Business in the Community's prestigious Responsible Business Gala Dinner, which will be held in July 2018. If your company is making great progress to address workplace gender equality, then please do enter today and benefit from the great public profile, celebrate the positive impact you are having on individuals in your workplace, business and society as a whole, and make your employees proud.
Wonderful. Thank you, Yusuf. So why enter? There are a number of benefits that organizations get for entering. One of them is around your gap analysis. So this is an opportunity for you to understand where your strong points are and where you have areas for improvement. It's also a way to increase internal engagement. So for example, with your employees, you also have opportunity to use the prestigious brand, reputation, and recognition. And then the elements around extra profile opportunity. This is something that the winner of the Gender Equality Award will get, an increased profile for this year. As we mentioned before, they will be announced at the gala dinner in July of 2018. And we'll be talking you through an additional profile opportunity in the next few slides.
Thank you, Blessing. Okay, so moving on to look at all the characteristics for the Gender Equality Awards in more detail. So the Gender Equality Award itself, so this will recognise organisations with particularly high performance across the whole entry form. Up to 5 finalists will be selected and invited to a judging panel of external gender equality experts that will take place in May 2018, and from which a single winner will be chosen. Assessment criteria for this award will be against additional elements which will include strategy and sustainability, impact, and transformational change, along with innovation. The Game Changer Award for 2018, this will relate to Section 3 of the entry form only, and particularly innovative or impactful case studies will be considered for this category. Diversity experts will review high-performing case studies from Section 3 and select up to approximately 10 best practice examples that demonstrate outstanding progress or transformational change. Finally, the Gender Champion Award. This is an optional section, which is a nomination of a senior executive who has made a remarkable contribution to championing gender balance and equality of opportunity in his or her organisation. So up to 3 finalists will be selected and invited to a judging panel of external gender equality experts that will also take place in March 2018, and from which a single winner will be chosen. If you'd like to have a look at last year's winners of these awards, then please do visit our website.
Thank you, Yusuf. So another benefit of the top 50 is that it is free to enter, which is great. However, following the assessment and once the highest score entries have been identified in March of 2018, there will be a promotion fee of £1,250 plus VAT in order for eligible organizations to be included on the list. But if an organization enters and is not successful, the promotion fee does not apply.
Thank you, Blessing. So in terms of the profile benefits, if you are successful, these will include prominent listing as the Times Top 50 Employers for Women in the print and tablet supplement published in April 2018, a prominent listing as a Times Top 50 Employer for Women on the Times and Sunday Times appointments website, and Business in the Community's gender equality website throughout the following year, so April to April. You also have the opportunity to provide 50 words in the supplement to enable you to describe what you are most proud of in relation to gender equality in your organisation. Eligibility to display the Times Top 50 Employers for Women logo for the following year. So the promotion fee includes the bronze logo licensing package. So this will include internal intranet use, use on the stationery, and use in terms of internal, external company reports and presentations. As mentioned previously, the winner and finalist of the Gender Equality Award will get extra profile this year as part of BITC's Responsible Business Awards in 2018. The Gender Equality Award winner and finalists will be announced from the stage at our gala dinner in July. To get more sense of the profile opportunity, you're welcome to view the 2017 supplement, which can be located on our Business in the Community website.
Great. So additional profile opportunities. If you wish to maximize your profile, additional opportunities are available. Full details are available on the top 50 logo and advertising pricing document. And the link is right there on your screen. We've got digital advertising, tablet edition on the Times and the Sunday Times appointment website. We've also got enhanced logo licensing packages. These are online and social media recruitment and advertising elements. And we've also got advertising opportunities available in print, supplement, subject to demand.
Thanks, Blessing. So looking at when the results will be announced, the Business in the Community's Gender Equality Awards, so this year's categories, just to run over them again, is the Responsible Business for Gender Equality Awards, the Gender Equality Game Changer and the Gender Champion. So the winners will be announced at a celebration event in April 2018. Case studies of finalists and winners will be featured on the Business in the Community's workplace website and profiled by Business in the Community for the following year. In terms of the Times Top 50 Employers for Women, the list will be published in a special editorial supplement in the Times, published in April 2018, the morning following the announcement of the Business in the Community Awards. The list will not be ranked, be a ranked index, with the 50 organisations appearing in alphabetical order. So as already mentioned, the list will be featured in the Times and Sunday Times appointments website and on BITC's Gender Equality website for the following year.
Thank you, Yusuf. So moving on to the entry process itself, entry is very much by self-nomination via the single entry form. The criteria of who is eligible to enter is pretty straightforward. So any organization with a UK presence and activity can take part. If your business model includes subsidiaries, you can choose either to submit as a group or as a whole, or you can put forward one of your subsidiaries. However, it's not possible to do both.
Thank you, Blessing. Okay, so looking at the submission structure, sections 1 to 3 of the entry form are mandatory and need to be completed in order for the entry to be accepted. So looking at the sections in more detail, so section 1, organisation description and gender metrics. So at the start of the entry form, we ask for a description of your organisation in order for the assessors to understand the context from which your organisation is operating. I should mention that the entries need to be anonymous. There's some additional guidance regarding this, which I'll touch on again later. In terms of the gender metrics, we also require top-line gender metrics, so a breakdown of your organisation's gender profile across the organisation and at different levels, such as managers and your executive committee and board. So this section is mandatory and again provides important context for the assessors. The gender profile data will remain strictly confidential to BITC. It will not be scored directly, although it will be referred to during the assessment. So the reporting period should be the organisation's last financial year or the 12 months prior to September of the current year, so September 2016 to September 2017. So if you've submitted data during these time periods to BITC's Diversity Benchmark Survey, we can pick this we can pick this information up and you don't need to enter it again. There are 2 scored sections to the entry form. So section 2, so this section asks for information on what your organisation is doing that makes it a top employer for women. So why is it important for your business to have a focus on gender equality in relation to its employees and stakeholders? And this can include external stakeholders if that's relevant to you. So we really want you to explore the kind of activities that you're engaged in to create a culture which facilitates equality for women and how successful these activities are. Importantly, you need to articulate the impact of these activities within the question set. Section 3, the mandatory state case study. So this third section focuses on a case study on a specific initiative, activity or programme which demonstrates the work that your organisation is engaged in to to change your workplace culture and benefit women. Again, articulating the impact of these activities is important. If you find it helpful to see previous examples, you can find those examples on our website. I'd like to highlight the case studies that the case studies will be reviewed and scored in isolation. So please do ensure that any relevant information is covered within these case studies response, as information in the rest of the entry will not be taken into account. This section accounts for 25% of the final score. So as discussed previously, particularly impactful or innovative case studies may be considered to be recognised as Business in the Community's Gender Equality's Game Changer for 2018. Finally, the optional Gender Champion Award nomination. So this section is not compulsory and will not count towards the final score for the top 50 listing. This is an opportunity to nominate a senior level individual whose passion and commitment regarding progressing gender equality has made a significant difference in the organisation.
Thank you, Yusuf. So, taking a closer look at confidentiality, as that's quite an important area. For section 1, this includes your data and metrics, and that's totally confidential and will be used for assessment purposes only. For section 2, this is the question set and assessment content, and this will not be reproduced in the public domain, although we may on occasion share best practice from this section with the Times newspaper to provide them with background information on the development of the supplement content. So you will be contacted in advance should the Times wish to develop a case study for your organization for publication. So for example, if BITC identifies a best practice example on shared parental leave, we will advise the Times, who may then wish to follow up with that particular organization. For sections 3 and 4, which is on case studies and nominations, content submitted in these sections should be pre-approved for publication, as they may be published in part. So you need to get them pre-approved before you submit. They might be published in part or in their entirety in the public domain. So for example, should the case study or nomination be selected as part of the award, it will be featured on our website. And Business in the Community reserves the right to edit the case study for the purpose of word count and consistency, but we'll do that prior to, we won't do that before your approval. Essentially, we'll get your approval before we do that.
Thank you, Blessing. Okay, so we'd really like to help you to submit the best entry you can, and therefore we've provided you with detailed guidance. There is a detailed information and guidance document which is available to download from the website, and all of the information in this document will also be replicated on the online entry platform. You should have all the guidance at your fingertips as you're working on your entry. So please do have a look at this information as a starting point, in addition to what we're covering today in terms of the structure and format of the entry process, as it also contains some general overall guidance points which will be relevant to bear in mind as you're completing all of the sections. So in addition, it includes a detailed question breakdown for section 2 to help you focus on each individual answer. If you've completed the benchmarking survey last year, additional guidance is available to highlight where content overlaps across the two processes, as you may find it useful to review some of the answers you're providing for the benchmarking, as some of the content may be relevant to your award submission. Our diversity specialists are also on hand to answer any questions that you may have. If you're currently working with a diversity advisor as a member, then please do feel to get in touch with them directly. Alternatively, please contact Thomas Alberts, whose details can be found on our website, and he'll be glad to help or put you in touch with another member of the team as best fits your inquiry. If you'd find best examples of use, winning and shortlisting case studies from last year's awards are available on our website. So we suggest that you can find out more by downloading the entry documents and guidance, which is also on the website.
Thank you, Yusuf. So just a few other significant points to highlight, and don't worry too much about it, as this information is also included on the entry platform. So the women, don't forget the women. We appreciate that your activities may have a broader diversity reach, which is relevant to you to tell us about. And some of your programs and initiatives may not just focus on women, but for the purpose of this entry, we do need to understand your activities as they relate to and impact on women specifically. So applying the gender lens on your initiatives and program is very, very key. In terms of your UK activities, the list recognizes employers in the UK, and as such, please do ensure that the information you provide is particularly relevant to activities and achievements within this region. As with the previous point, we appreciate that some programs and initiatives will have broader, more global reach, and it will be appropriate to cover this in the entry. However, wherever possible, please do provide UK data when providing evidence of impact in the UK. If the information is not UK-based, or it is not made clear that the data is from the UK, this may affect your score for that question. So when it comes to the case study in section 3, we'll ask you to give further information about which region the work covers and if that's relevant. So consulting with colleagues, that's quite important because there might be colleagues who contribute useful information which would strengthen your entry. You may find it helpful to consult with other departments such as HR, talent management, women or other relevant employee network. You can also consult with your training or PR and communications department. In terms of anonymity, you should also ensure that your entry is anonymous. So most obviously, don't use your organization's name, but also avoid references that would easily identify it. So for example, don't use names of individuals, particularly if they are senior and therefore very high profile. And similarly, if you have established programs that would be recognized by those in the diversity sphere, avoid using the names of the program. So think about what would be useful for the assessors to understand about the context of the point that you're trying to make. So in terms of your organization's description, for instance, you may want to convey what the scale of your organization is, if there are particular challenges associated with your sector, for example. So think about the information that would be useful for an assessor to understand about the landscape from which your organization specifically operates from. Does it operate in a male-dominated sector, for instance? Try to highlight contextual information that will help an assessor to appreciate your particular approach on these issues. It is also very important to use plain English. Don't use acronyms or terminologies that someone outside of your organization would not be familiar with. We do ask that you check your formatting as well. Before you submit your entry, check that your content will be easy for an assessor to read. I think this may be particularly important if you're pasting large pieces of text into the platform from other documents. So check that the paragraph spacing hasn't been lost, particularly where you have longer answers, such as the case study questions. If all the information is bunched into one long paragraph of dense text, it's harder for the assessor to pick through it. You might find that using bullet points help you with word counts and to convey the information clearly and concisely. So if you do use bullet points where necessary. In terms of supporting materials, you will be assessed entirely on the text responses from your entry form. So supporting materials are not required at this stage. Please don't send us additional materials or use hyperlinks to further information for further information in your answers. And finally, it's worth noting that we're not expecting a perfect score. The questions are thorough, as we wanted to ensure that the process is robust and credible, and the process is competitive. But if you find some of the questions challenging, do remember that no one will be doing everything perfectly, and everyone will have strengths and weaknesses. So we aren't expecting everyone to have impact against all of the questions where there's an option for you to provide that. You may have an average score for one question or section, but may do brilliantly in another. So don't let a difficult question put you off. Okay?
Thank you, Blessing. Okay, so just to finally recap on the key dates for this year. So the 2nd of October, the entry process opens. So it's now open, so please do get working on your applications and your submissions. The 23rd of November at 5 p.m. The deadline for submissions, that is the deadline for submissions. That's a hard deadline, so please get your applications in by that time. So from November to January 17, so our diversity specialists will be reviewing the submissions. In March 2018, so eligible top 50 employees organisations are notified. The Gender Champion Award finalists are notified, and the judging panels are held for the Gender Champion Award. In April 18, the Times Top 50 Employees for Women 2018 is published in the Times supplement. The Gender Champion Award winners are announced. The Game Changer Award winners are also announced. And finally, the Gender Equality Award finalists are announced. In May 2018, the judging panel for the Gender Equality Awards are held. In June 18, the Gender Equality Award winners are notified. And then finally, in July 18, we've got the Responsible Business Gala Awards, and the Gender Equality Award winner will be announced, and Responsible Business Award winners and finalists published in the Financial Times supplement.
Thank you, Yusuf. So the online entry platform, the entry is via our online entry platform, which is available now. So do go on and log in. In order to access the platform, you'll need a username and password, which you can obtain by emailing Thomas. And Thomas's detail is on the slide.
Thank you, Blessing. Okay, so there's several benefits for entrants in using the platform. So it consolidates all of the information and guidance for the entry process, and you can access it whilst you're working on your submission. The platform will display your word counts, so you can keep track of it as you complete your entry, and it will also alert you if you go over the word counts. You can share the login details with other colleagues so that they can contribute to the entry. So please note that it is possible for multiple colleagues to be logged in at the same time. However, so you may wish to be clear about which sections or questions contributors are working on. You can save your updates as you progress and come back to your submission at a later date. Please do remember to save your content before you leave the page you're on, otherwise your content may be lost. You can download a PDF of your response to save or circulate at any stage.
Thank you, Yusuf. So on the entry platform, you can access the individual question guidance by clicking the information symbol, and the information just pops out. We're not going to go through each question individually here, but don't hesitate to get in touch if there are any questions that you're still not quite sure of when you complete your survey entry.
Thank you, Blessing. Okay, so finally, just got some examples here of frequently asked questions. We'll be adding these to the process as it progresses.
Wonderful, thank you, Yusuf. This brings us to the end of the webinar. We are now ready to take any questions. Just have a look and see if you've got any questions. As a reminder, do type your questions in the question panel, and we will try and pick those up. We'll just take a few minutes to see if we have any questions coming up. Do you have any questions? Okay, we haven't got any questions coming through, so this would then, okay, I think we've got the questions coming through now, okay. So the first one is, sorry I missed the part about anonymity. Do we not mention our organization anywhere in the submission? So that's a question from Laura about anonymity.
Yeah, so in terms of anonymity, at the very start of the application process, you will be mentioning your organisation's name. But when we talk about anonymity, we're talking about in the actual questions themselves, so Section 2 and Section 3, and also the Champion Award. So we will know what the organisation is at the start of the submission, but anywhere else in the submission, we want to make sure that everything's anonymous and we don't know, we're aware of your organisation's name.
Okay, next question is from Mohammed, and he's asking, do we have to enter our submissions anonymously? So that's the same with the first question. So that answers your question, hopefully, Mo. And then a note from Laura saying, great, thank you. Thank you, Laura. Okay, do we have any more questions? We'll just leave it for another 1 minute. If you don't have any further questions coming through, we will be signing off. Okay, we've got one more from Catherine. My organization's risk inadvertent disclosure of who we are because we are pretty unique in what we do.
Okay. So in terms of being risk averse, in terms of disclosing what you do, so obviously, as we said, the submission will be anonymous when we're actually reviewing the submissions. However, you will obviously need to provide your name at the start of the submission. So I hope that answers your question, Catherine. If it doesn't, then if you could just let us know. Or okay. What in terms of Catherine's question, Thomas will follow you up in terms of that. In terms of your question, in terms of a disclosure. Okay, we've got a question from Richard. It says, in terms of first or third person, is there a preference? No, not really, Richard. So yeah, so whatever best works for you. So I've got another question from Catherine. So just to follow up from her previous question, it's more about some of the initiatives we have done, some of which have been in the press. Well, I suppose, to be honest with you, Catherine, that's probably a judgment call from yourself in terms of what initiatives and activities that you want to put into the submission and which ones you don't. So I think that'll be more of an internal conversation with your internal stakeholders, and then making the decision based on what activities and programs you want to put in the submission. So just to follow up on the anonymity subject. So this is mainly due to the fact that when the diversity specialists are assessing the Times Top 50 submissions, we want to make sure that the assessors don't know the company that they're assessing, because obviously we've got a number of members who are who are applying for the Times Top 50. So we want to make sure that it's completely objective and transparent, essentially. Okay, well, I think that brings the questions to a close. So thanks very much for your time. Just as a reminder, we'll be circulating the slides after the session, and if you've got any questions, then please do follow up with us. So yeah, that's it from us, and thanks very much for your time.
Thank you and goodbye.